Okay, so I am here with Cross. You can see his banner plastered across the bottom of the screen, and I'm going to have links to his video and his channel in the description. Cross came first in this last ranked season of Zenonzard, but you can go ahead and introduce yourself properly, so I don't butcher anything.
Yeah, you're good. Alright, yo, so I'm Cross. I got a first last season. I used like 3 different decks, so I'm gonna go ahead and get into that. I've been trying to play through the ranking season for like a long time now, but I always fall short. Like I think like I'm always either like second place or top 10, like anywhere but first place. But we finally got the first place, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's I've known Cross from like old card game days before Zenonzard, and he has trouble finishing. So this is I think this is the first time he's actually managed to get it done. So yeah, let's okay, we'll get started then. So you mentioned you played 3 decks. What were they? Which did you play the most of?
Okay, so I'll just go with the first deck I played was Vampires. I played that day 1.
Shit, it's fun.
That wasn't a good idea.
It's fun though.
I mean, like, yeah, I like the deck. It's a fun deck, but like I was just playing it, and I guess like I didn't really practice with it much, and I was like, fuck it, I'll just play purple because I didn't really test it because I had school and stuff, and I went 2 and 5. So
that was my day 1 vampire experience as well.
That was fucking horrible. But then we get on to day 2, and I'm like, yo, so I don't want vamps anymore. So I started using that one card. I don't know how to say its name. I think it's like Lexus or something.
Lexus. Yeah.
This one the force and left. I started using that. My record went up. I used that for day 2 and day 3. I think the best I got with that deck was like a 5-2. The day 2 I used it. I went like 4 and 3. I should have gotten higher, but I made a few mistakes. I just made a few mistakes. I was just like a bit distracted. But from day 3 I went 5 and 2, and I'm like, all right, I want a deck that can go above 5 and 2 consistently. Because Lexus is good. Yeah. But honestly, whether you go above like 5 wins probably just depends on your matchups. Because sometimes you just go against a deck like Green Mass, which I'm gonna get into.
100%.
That's just like too fast.
And it's also a deck where like one, you can get like really badly lock screwed if you don't get a decent early game, and 2, like if you make one tiny mistake, it's really punishing. Like it's you can't like I feel like you can't really mess around with that deck because otherwise you just lose instantly.
You make a mistake, you lose. You don't get Lexus on time, and you're going against a fast deck, you lose, which happened multiple times.
100%, yeah, that was my experience with the deck as well, back when Andrew first got the buff. And then the final deck, which I suppose the most important.
And then the final deck is Green Mass Tribe. So I used that from day 4 and on. I got lucky because I had like a little bit of a head start before I got up on game length, because I think I went against this one Green Mask player. Like it was pure Green Mask I lost it, and I'm like, oh shit, that was like, it's still kind of good. So I was looking at the tribal engine, asking the Discord, I'm like, yo, our tribal's good. People are like, nah, it looks kind of whack. But I was looking at the bases and shit. I'm like, all right, this deck could be decent. So I was messing around with it. The list was doing all right, and then I saw a result for it in Japan. So I like matched that list with what I was using, and then I finally came up with the final product. So it was really cool. Green Mask Tribe, like it's an incredible deck. You can kill super early. I know I had like games where I killed on like my 3rd turn, my 3rd, 4th turn. It's like super ridiculous. It's everything Green Mask was, except they have an actual early game now. You're consistently pumping out damage now. It's just better. Green Mask.
100%.
Green Mask didn't really get nerfed that much.
Yeah, it's like you're not losing anything by playing the tribal engine. You're literally only adding.
You're only gaining.
You're only gaining. There are only W's to be had here. If you're looking for the deck list, I hate to disappoint you, but Cross needs some subs. So head over to his channel. There should be a card that goes up there, and there'll be a link in the description and all that stuff. So go over, give the lad a like. He deserves it. Related. I had a couple questions. So the first is, do you think that this season being 7 games instead of 10 or 15 was a good thing or a bad thing?
Alright, so 15 games. That was too much. Like,
Shit was whack, bro.
I
Shit was
really
whack.
like there was somebody I just didn't finish games like multiple days. I was like fuck, like I wasn't trying to do the whole thing. But 7 games was interesting. So like it was convenient because like it's less time consuming, but it's definitely like a lot more punishing. Like there's a lot more room for failure because like as I said, I started off 2-5, and somehow I managed to make back that deficit, which is kind of crazy. So I think 7 games is a lot more punishing. I think that it's hard to say. Like I think that I like 7 games, but it feels like it's also like harder to experiment and stuff like that if you don't have like enough free time and stuff like that. So 7 games was interesting. I like 10 games too. 10 games felt like pretty normal to me, but like once again, it was like a little bit time consuming, not as time consuming as like 15 games.
Yeah, I think we can all agree 15 was not it. Like it was too much.
15. Yeah, it just wasn't it. So between I think 7 and 10 are both fine. They might end up going back to 10. You know, it might kind of depend, but I'm completely fine with 7 or 10, just as long as we don't touch 15 again, or anywhere above 10.
Yeah,
really.
And I think below 7 is definitely not enough as well. Seven. I agree. You're touching the point where if you make a couple of silly mistakes, like so day 2 I played Soldier. And it was kind of my first time playing the deck, so in my first 2 games I made these really silly misplays that I instantly realized, oh, that was stupid, and I lost the game because of it. And obviously on a 10-game day, that's not the end of the world. I can still go on to get 8 wins, 7 wins, even 6 wins. I ended up going like 4-3, and I was like, oh, fuck, what am I going to do here? It's like, but on the other hand, it was really nice because, you know, now I'm starting to get a lot busier, and I know there's like, people who played this game. And we're not all like students and stuff. Like, people have lives. So 7 games is potentially that sweet spot for just enough. But I agree with you. I think 10 and 7 are fine. So then, what are your thoughts on the meta right now? So, fresh out of Glory, how did it sort of develop in your experience over the course of the season? And what's your general impressions of it?
So the meta right now, like. I mean, it's interesting, I guess. I mean, going into Glory, like, I wasn't really reading cards until we actually got into Glory. And my initial impressions were just that, like, soldiers in yellow were going to be ridiculous. But just due to the nature, like, player versus enemy and needing to consistently do on, like, 7 games and stuff, soldiers wasn't really the best. It's a super powerful deck, but, like, once you do bad, like, you just, like once you like bad, you just like do bad. Like there's just no coming back from that. Yellow is really interesting too. I think yellow's still really solid. But then, you know, later on into the season, we got into like Lexus and Green Tribe, which Lexus is alright, but Green Mass Tribe, the deck feels like it's a little too powerful. I'm not gonna lie. They might have to. They might end up having to touch the deck some kind of way because the deck is extremely fast. Like you're not instantly killing a force like what's happened with like Golem summoning and stuff like that. But you can kill concerningly early. So I think the meta is like pretty interesting right now. Outside of like how the Green Mass Tribe is, I still think that there's a lot of other options. Blue is really good, as I already said.
Blue's being slept on.
This is pretty good.
As per usual, outside of Blue Mask, which was so obvious. I mean, so Blue Mask was even slept on at the start, right? But Blue Mask was so obviously, like, once people saw what it was doing, obviously powerful, it took over the meta. But every single format this game has had, Blue's been there. Blue's been a good, solid pick. It was, you know, maybe not the best, but it was definitely there. And every time, the global player base especially, just go, nah. Like, I've seen people call artists objectively bad, and I just don't understand how you can come to that opinion after you see the deck in action once.
Yeah, for sure. I even like I was playing around with artists. So I think I was playing Vanilla Lakes this day too. That's why I went 4-3. And then I played like artists. I just splashed in some Lakes because I was like, why not? And like the aggro I could do with it was crazy. So like like just the kill potential. Like it's really solid, and you can just drop off your opponent's whole board. It's all really.
Oh yeah, I mean that's like that's the kind of card that it's worth building a whole deck around. Summon it, return all your opponent's minions to base. I mean that would be that'd be ridiculous if it just said that. But I don't know. I guess people aren't making that connection. Yellow is also extremely strong.
It's really good. I had a few O's to yellow.
But yeah, I think really the only color is red that's is really not performing how we were hoping.
Julius. Yeah,
It sucks, man. I had high hopes. I had high hopes. Um, okay, and the final question of this little interview. So we saw that the meta did actually shift quite significantly over the week or so since the set came out.
very significant.
I still think that there's some refinement to do on these mask lists. I don't think we're done yet. But I wanted to know: do you think ignoring the new cards on the 20th, there's much room left for this format to develop, and then adding in those new cards on the 20th, how do you think, or what are your picks for decks to keep an eye on that you think are gonna be popping up in the top tiers?
All right. So in terms of like improvement, I think that there's 100% still improvement to be made. I think that although I do think that Green Mash Tribe is very likely to still be at the top unless there's just like a straight counter deck, but I still think that that deck might still have a little room to evolve because even looking at my list and looking at some of the Japanese lists, like there were a lot of what should I call it, like free space. Like there were a lot of like unnecessary cards, but the deck was just like it was just super powerful, like in a draw state that just didn't really matter. But if we get like a counter deck and more decks that can compete with it, that deck is probably likely to evolve too. And even outside of that, I still think that the Lexus decks still have room to grow. People still don't really know whether it's better to do as with artists or better to do with the more vanilla Siren build. So I think that's really interesting. And even just looking at like blue mask and stuff like that, like the blue mask blueprints that came out at like the beginning was like really interesting. And I still think that likely still has a lot of room to grow. And then I feel like people are so much fun with soldiers. You know, like there's vanilla, there's a mixture, there's even some weird cards. I know I saw like this Japanese player use like this Freerin, is that how you say it? Like this
Oh
dragon,
yes,
like,
yeah, the dragon, yeah.
yeah, so I still think there's a lot of room there. I think the deck that Duelist, I can't, yeah, I don't think Duelists are getting anywhere. But and then for yellow, I'm not too sure on yellow. I think yellow is still gonna be at the top. Yellow is probably the deck I've looked into the least, but just seeing like some of the things I've seen on like Twitter and talking the Discord, I think that yellow still has like a large variety of builds to go on with, and that's kind of how yellow has always been. Even when yellow wasn't really meta, like there were like several options to choose from. You had Kathleen, you had a more control-based build, so it's just always like that. And it's just whichever build is more suited for the meta works. So I still think that there's just a lot of improvement, like all around. I'm not really sure like what cards are exactly going to be used to make those improvements, but I don't think this is all there is to see for sure. And then for the new cards that are coming out, I think that Legion might be an interesting deck to look at. Honestly, I haven't paid too much attention to the pre-existing Legion support because I took a quick glance over it. It wasn't really impressive, but with the new cards, I think that Legion might be something to look out for. Like somebody might figure out like some cool OTK deck with it, or even like a control deck with it. Because I think Legion seems to have a lot of options, and they're coming from different colors, which that would be really interesting for like spell choices and stuff like that. That'd be easier to flash the cards like let's say you use it purpley for like power consumption or stuff like that, or even
Yeah.
the so stuff like that. That would be
Personally, yeah, I think the red, the yellow, and the blue new Legion support cards seem very strong, and I think people can't forget about cards like Godsex, which is still ridiculously powerful if you can get him out. He is game winning. So I would personally very much like to play a Legion Artegal control kind of build, which I think the new cards do support, which goes into Godsex in the late game, and just runs away. I think the problem obviously with those kind of decks and ranked is you're looking at like a 2-hour ranked session to get through those 7 games.
That's gonna be long.
But yeah, okay, so thanks very much for coming on. It was fun having you on. I appreciate it. So please Once again, head over to Cross's channel, links in the description. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more stuff like it, more Zenonzard content or Digimon content coming soon, spoilers, then you can hit the like button and you can hit the red button, get me to 1k, surprise coming, maybe, I haven't really thought about it. Check the description for Cross's stuff, Discords, and comment your thoughts on the current meta and on Cross's list when you go and have a look at that. Again, plug video, go watch it, and I will see you guys next time. Cheers.
Yeah, catch y'all.